Hey everyone. Today I wanted to talk about learning from art failure. So, we have a chair. Um, and basically, I'm going to show you how to fail at drawing it. I'm going to do really bad, but what matters here is that we're practicing. So, the one thing I learned over the years and from the Drawbox course was that you have to go through a lot of failure to get to the point of one, drawing something, and two, you have to go through probably a lot more failure to get to the point of drawing it to the point that you like it. So I'm just gonna kind of draw like a skeleton outline of this chair, and different people will draw this in different ways. Some people may just want to like freehand it, kind of like that. I mean, obviously, it's not like an exact copy of the chair we have at the left here. It's pretty awful, I would say. I'm probably using too thick of a pen or pencil tool for that, so I'm going to try to draw it a little bit thinner. So essentially, I'm just kind of doing like a really bare skeleton. I mean, obviously, like the chair we have right here has a lot more features to it. Like, when I think of a chair, obviously you think of something that has a seat and a backing to it, but that's always debatable. I mean, I would think a chair could be without a back. Obviously, the back is just for back support, for a more comfortable sitting experience, and you don't need it, but it does help. And I have to be honest with you, right now I'm sitting in a chair with a really nice backing on it. If I didn't have this chair, I would not be able to draw for extended periods of time. So chairs are definitely important. I'm not belittling chairs in any way. So effectively, with this chair, there are many different ways to fail at drawing it. So sometimes failure is defined by what you see. So like, let's say I draw this chair. I was going to try to finish it up here. Obviously, there's a lot of stuff I'm trying to do as I draw it. I'm trying to think of, like, I already know I messed up the perspective of it. It's definitely not one-to-one. I'm just trying to think of, like, the legs as a line and, like, the seat as a plane. And I'm going to probably just do the backing as another plane as well. Probably should make a better decision in actually thinking about it. Because, like, all of these lines and such, like, they're all, like, you have to think about it in 3 dimensions. Like, they all have a vanishing point that the sides are like converging towards. I'll show you that just for it to like kind of help and inform you how I'm kind of like getting to this point. I still have a lot more practice to do before I'm like good at this. I'm also a bit new at digital drawing. I'm more used to like drawing with like a pen on paper, so it's kind of new to me at times, and I'm still kind of like learning. I mean, I've just been sticking to the pencil tool for a while now, but like I would still consider myself new. Like, I only been doing digital since maybe like last July. And a side note here about failure is, like, whenever you start a new medium, it has quirks to it that are unlike other mediums you've done. Like, I found myself having a lot more control with a pencil on paper compared to digital. Obviously, that's just because I lack the muscle memory of like digital. Like, the difference that I found is, like, with pencil, you kind of like really have that tactile feedback, and on a screen, it's kind of like you're drawing with like a soft nib on a glass. So it's kind of like a much different feel. Um, I like it. I like both of them. So I would say one good aspect of failing at art is failing faster. So doing a bunch of iterations again and again and again will lead you to the point, more close to the point of something that you wanted to draw. So it's like in school, we always learned that failure is a bad thing, and there's no second chance. Like, when all throughout my elementary, middle school, high school, and even college, I mean, more often than not, you fail, and like that's like it. Like, you're stuck with that. There's no redeeming yourself. Like, maybe if you have a final, you'll remember that lesson. I mean, sometimes you'll get like a professor here and there that's more open to perhaps maybe giving you credit, but I mean, obviously, like that, I never had that happen to me, but I heard that like it could happen sometimes. But the thing about that is we're taught from like a young age to fear failure, and I feel like that's what prevents a lot of people from getting ahead in life. I mean, it's painful as it is. You have to kind of get used to the fact that every time you draw something, there's going to be a unique challenge to it, and the point is you could practice and fail and get to the point of making it better. Like, to offer like a parallel to technology, I have an app called Drawsome. You can find it on my website. I'll put a link in the description. It's free. I use it for basically failing faster every day. When I was making that app, I failed so many times. Yeah, I'm a software developer, but like that's it doesn't mean I don't fail. Like, there are many times like, oh, I thought I did this right. I thought I fixed that bug, but then I would find out like, no, it's still here. And I think the important thing is to know that failure is something that you should accept and know that you can improve upon, as hard as it is. But just don't give up. So another thing is, okay, so like we have our chair. It doesn't look exactly like that chair, but it's simple enough to kind of like represent the idea. The thing that like I wanted to take away here is that like this chair, the chair that I drew, I'm not so happy with. Like it looks like it's tilted in the wrong direction. Obviously, like the legs, like I'm not really showing like the thickness of the legs, because the legs aren't sticks. They're like chunks of wood, square chunks of wood that are kind of all attached to this other thing. Also, like a lot of the parts of this chair are like rounded, but I felt like I did an okay job with trying to like make all of the parallel lines of the chair kind of like converging towards like the proper vanishing point. I'm probably like a bit off here, but let me show you what I mean. Because like if you look at the chair, if you look at these arrows that I'm drawing here, even though I didn't draw my vanishing point, they're like converging towards a vanishing point. You know, parallel lines, they never cross each other, but when you're thinking of it in perspective, like this chair here, they're all converging towards some towards some vanishing point. Even like this line here, it's all like they're converging towards the same vanishing point in a 3-point perspective. So the thing here is that, well, great, this is digital, or if you had a piece of paper, you could just erase it and you could try again. You know, there's no limit. I do recommend that when you're trying to draw something that you like, you set time limits on your practice of like 25-minute chunks, called the Pomodoro technique. That's so you avoid burnout, because if there's one thing that I learned, it's that if you do not give yourself breaks, your mind will take a break for you. So essentially what I mean by that is that you'll get burned out, or maybe you just won't be able to think anymore. So drawing the chair this time, I'm going to like actively think and kind of like plot out kind of like points where I think the lines should converge. So like I'll show you here. If you watch me, I'm kind of like you can't see me because I don't have my hand here, but essentially I'm ghosting my lines, and essentially I'm trying to like find like a point here and a point here, so that the oops, what am I doing? So that the parallel lines are like converging towards a common vanishing point. Yeah. So this method I learned, okay, from Drawbox, obviously. Like, look, I made another mistake here. It's that my line isn't straight. So like, don't get discouraged by this. It's pretty difficult to draw straight lines. I believe like the way we're made to draw curved lines. We have like an arcing motion, so like drawing a straight line is way more difficult than like drawing like a curve. That's just my theory. I don't know if that's a fact. I feel like with a lot of practice you can draw a straight line, but like I'm trying to approach it from like a much different angle than as if I was drawing a curve. Well, no, that's the wrong way to say it. I'm basically drawing like this straight line from like right to left, like from like down right to up left, and it's kind of difficult for me because like I'm more used to drawing a straight line from like diagonal from like right to left, kind of like that. It's not perfect, but it just takes a lot of practice, and essentially what we're trying to do is we're trying to like do this on paper, what someone probably originally like made this chair, probably using a roller. So like if you ever been in like a wood shop or anything like that, if they were like doing like a carpentry drawing of this chair, you can bet yourself that they were using like straight edges or some type of guide or like a roller to plot out the chair, like the shape before they like probably curve the edges of it. So know that like with the sketching process, we're trying to go a little bit above and beyond that. Even though some of this may seem like a bit of a guesstimation, just know that not everything is as straightforward as we like it to be. So if you like see this point here that I'm drawing, I messed that up for sure. I probably should have chosen a middle point there. I learned this method of kind of like the plot placement and like kind of like thinking about the converging parallel lines from Drawbox. So that course that I took had a exercise regarding the like drawing boxes. It was the 250 box challenge, and I feel like I really learned about perspective from that. It really got me thinking about how the lines should converge, and essentially after drawing 250 boxes, I learned that just doing that isn't going to make me good. I learned a lot, but I mean, like, you have to think like you're probably going to need to draw thousands, maybe even more, to actually get to the point in which you could draw something good, and that's like only doing it using like a fine liner pen. So like the second you switch to a different medium, it's going to have different quirks to it. Obviously, like the same principles apply of perspective and thinking about how things converge towards a similar vanishing point, but it has quirks to it, and it's just always important to keep in mind. Like, I'm probably drawing a bit too slow here, and that's probably why some of my lines look a bit kind of like they don't look so confident. They kind of have like a break in them, if you would think about it. So here I'm just kind of like guessing, like this isn't like a 1-to-1 scale, but essentially I'm kind of just like figuring this out as I go. And the thing that we should know is that sometimes you may be in a position in which you can't see what you're doing wrong, because I feel like to get to the point of even kind of just being bad at drawing, but kind of drawing a little, you still may not be seeing what exactly you're doing wrong. And I think the thing when you're at that point is to ask other people who are more experienced with drawing for help. So what I mean by that is you could try to go to maybe like a Reddit board or like a Discord server that has like a drawing group, or maybe even like you have a local meetup group in your area. If you ever heard like meetup.com, you could try to go to that and you can like ask for feedback on that, and they could like help critique your work. My only beef with that is that essentially it's not paid, and I used to give a lot of critique feedback for free, And I don't mind helping people. I love to help people. That's why I made my Drawsome app, and I have another app coming. It's right here. It's going to be called Thumbtastic. But essentially, it's a lot of work to do that, and work and time and effort. And I do believe that at some point, you may be better off like paying someone to help give you feedback. That was kind of like one of the main things I learned from Drawbox, is that like paying for feedback, I got a lot more in-depth feedback, and I'm pretty sure like you can do the same thing if you maybe like go somewhere on the internet and try that, maybe even like Fiverr or something like that, or find like a local art instructor or any of the other stuff that I said. And I think that doing that is usually the right way to go, because it's just, there's a lot of stuff you won't know, and going about it that way is probably like the least annoying way. Otherwise, there's a good chance that you may post something and you may not get any feedback from it. We kind of live, like, being in this internet age, there is just absolutely so many people posting stuff online that, you'll get burned out real quick. Like, I thought I'd be able to, like, provide feedback regularly to people, but then I got burned out giving people feedback. You could check out my Dropbox profile for that if you want to. But essentially, just know that it could be difficult for people to get that energy to give it to you. But I mean, I'm all for helping beginners. I mean, I'm definitely not against that. I mean, it's just difficult. So the other thing that I wanted to say about learning from failure is sometimes it may be better to fail on smaller parts rather than larger parts. So like, we have this chair here. I made some, I clearly didn't try to match it 1-to-1, but I feel like I had the seat here was like way off. Like, I feel like it should be, like, it's not like, I didn't make it convergent right. Like, the perspective is just plain wrong. So instead, I'm just going to try to like do like a quick sketch to try to like sum it up. And obviously, like, I'm totally disregarding vanishing points here, which is probably the wrong thing to do. So instead, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to plot some points here and try to do it, like, give it my best effort. And don't be afraid to rush this. This is something that, like, you may have to take out. You have to take, like, a lot of time to plot out your vanishing points. Like, I have to say, when I first started, okay, sorry, stupid shortcut. When I first started out, I wasn't taking enough time to plot my points. You don't always have to do this, but the thing I learned was that if you rush it, you're just going to have a bunch of like really bad stuff, and it'll be clear that you rushed it. I think with a lot of the Drawbox exercises in the beginning, I kind of rushed them, and that was kind of a mistake. I was not taking enough time on them. And the thing is, don't be afraid to rush stuff, because if you do, it probably won't turn out too good. The other thing here is knowing that you could break down something larger like this chair into different parts. If you wanted to, you could fit it into a box, but that may not always be the best method, or you may just not want to draw a box. There's nothing wrong with that, but drawing a box could be helpful sometimes. But if you draw enough and practice enough, you could eventually get to the point in which you could start pointing out your own failures, even though you're just kind of failing all the time. But I think that's still a good thing. Like, being able to see your own mistakes is so much more helpful, because when you're seeing your own mistakes, essentially, you don't have to go to other people and ask for it. But do I suggest you do? Well, yeah, I would say sometimes if you're working on something and you're really trapped, going to some community to ask for feedback can be a really beneficial thing. So I talked about plotting stuff out, trying thinking about it in perspective. There are some other methods that you can try. Like, it's not the best because you're not going to be accurate at all, and you're probably going to mess up the vanishing points. But I think sometimes just like if you're trying to like visualize something, I do suggest like however you get it down is good. Like if you have an idea and it's cool, like maybe for a cool chair design and you want to get it down, it doesn't matter is how rough it is. Keep it, and then you could try to like use it to create something again more accurately in the future. So yeah, I think failure is a good thing. I feel like no matter what level you are at drawing, you could always learn from failure, because there is absolutely no way you're going to be able to draw everything. Like there's just too much stuff. Everything is a unique case, and being good at drawing everything, like it's not that it's impossible. It's just that every time you draw, those skills will help you draw other stuff, and it's all like an accumulation of skills. Like I can't draw cars for my life. I'm not really interested in drawing cars, so that's another benefit. But if you wanted to maybe like draw like some type of like industrial machine, well, I'm not saying you should draw cars, but the issue is a lot of the same methods kind of apply. And essentially the thing that you may have been struggling with cars could lay in like the same thing. But yeah, I hope this video helped you. If you have any questions regarding art failure or like learning from your failure, please feel free to leave a comment down below. But thanks for listening.